Did you know that Better Commander does requests? If I get a request for a deck in my Discord, or especially from one of my patrons, dude, I'm gonna do it. And I gotta tell you, these are the best people, only the best people. We're gonna build a wall around my channel. Anyways, man, Yenna, Redtooth, Regent. Now we're talking about Enchantress's brother, and we have to frame this conversation in the context of an Enchantress archetype. Selesnya, and to a lesser extent, Bant, has some really bonkers enchantment commanders. Chief among them is Sithis, the Harvest Hand. This is green and white for a legendary enchantment creature nymph. It's a 1/2. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain 1 life and you draw a card, dude. Sithis is so powerful precisely because she's got that Enchantress text. That's what an Enchantress is, dude. You cast an aura spell, or an enchantment spell in this case, draw a card. Now if we're building any enchantment deck, you want to build your deck with as many of these effects as you can get your hands on. You can keep a solid 7 cards in hand at any given point in the game, maybe more sometimes. Auras are universally panned as goofy, terrible strategies because if somebody targets your creature, all those auras go to the graveyard and they killed 7 mana and 3 cards worth of stuff with their 1 swords to plowshares. But you know what, in recent years we've gotten quite a few ways to ameliorate that threat and keep a full hand. So let's literally and figuratively dive into Yenna, Redtooth Agent. And listen, if you got a red tooth, see a dentist, brother. And if you like stuff like this, like, subscribe, get in the Patreon, get in the Discord, get out of my dreams and get into my car. Yenna, Redtooth Regent, 2 green and a white for a legendary creature, elf noble. It's a 4/4. Pretty beefy there. 2 and tap, choose target enchantment you control that doesn't have the same name as another permanent you control. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it isn't legendary. The token is an aura. Untap Yenna, Redtooth Regent, then scry 2. Activate only as a sorcery. Hot damn, dude, this card is like 30 cents. Pretty nuts. 2 mana, make a copy of any enchantment. That includes enchantment creatures, auras, anything. The aura copies can get around Shroud and Hexproof, I believe, dude. We were discussing this in the Discord, but it's a similar ruling to Zur the Enchanter. Let's read that. So you're making a copy of an aura. You're not casting it. It just goes onto the battlefield. So with Zur, the ruling reads like this. If you put an aura card onto the battlefield with Zur's ability, you choose what it will enchant as it enters the battlefield. An aura put onto the battlefield this way doesn't target anything, so it could be attached to an opponent's permanent with Hexproof, for example. But the aura's enchant ability restricts what it can be attached to, so you can't attach something that says enchant creature to a land or something. If the aura can't legally be attached to anything, it remains in your library. So say you copy a little card named Kenrith's Transformation, 1 and a green, enchantment, aura, enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. That's pretty nice, dude. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a green elk creature with base power and toughness 3/3. Well, listen, you scry 2, which I totally missed on the first reading of Yenna. You draw a card when this thing ETBs and alchify your opponent's creature with hexproof. Seems pretty good to me, man. Plus she untaps for further shenanigans. Now I have read about some combos with Yenna, but they involve some pretty pricey cards or interact with just 1 card in the deck, so I think it's easier just to build an uber value monster or sweet banana budget deck, skip the combos. 60 bucks, let's go. Now in previous years, these 2 cards have kind of held us back because they were 5 bucks each, man. But first we have to talk about our backbone, the Enchantresses. Luckily for us, Eidolon of Blossoms, Setessan Champion are cheap, like $1 each. Have some pretty unique rules text, so they say when an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. It's not cast an enchantment spell like Mesa Enchantress and Sithis. Now we also have some cards that draw and cast of an aura, like Sram. He comes to mind. Sram is the man, dude. He's got that sweet Multiverse Legends version too, dude. He's like a little dwarven Wolverine. Cute little guy, stick him right in my pocket, carry him around all day. And of course, this card is about $1.29, the Core Spirit Dancer. 1 and a white for a creature core wizard. It's a 0/2. Gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to it. Whenever you cast an aura spell, you may draw a card. She's got the powers of Hawk, Wolf, Puma, and Bear. Core Spirit Dancer is a good example of a creature you want to wear those auras. We need good attackers. You want them biggins, them big fellas, like this guy, the Nyxborn Behemoth. 10 green for an enchantment creature beast. It's a 10/10. Spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total mana value of non-creature enchantments you control. Has trample, and 1 and a green, sacrifice another enchantment. Nyxborn Behemoth gains indestructible until end of turn. Fresh out of Commander's Master's precons. There are a couple newer cards that slap in this deck, man. Plus you can copy him or her you know, whatever. How about this guy, the Timber Paladin? 1 and a green for an artifact creature, knight. It's a 1/1. As long as Timber Paladin is enchanted by exactly 1 aura, has base power and toughness 3/3. This guy's getting bigger, brother. As long as Timber Paladin is enchanted by 2 auras, has base power and toughness 5/5, and has vigilance. As long as it's enchanted by 3 or more auras, has base power and toughness 10/10, vigilance, and trample. Getting 3 auras on this guy is depressingly easy. This guy reminds me of those guys in Dark Souls in the garden with that Hydra, you know, and Sif, the Wolf of Artorias. Listen, I'm talking about Dark Souls stuff till I die, alright? So listen, man, this deck is just a mishmash of sweet commanders and cards from recent enchantment precons. You got Alavir in there of the Wild Court, 2 green and a white, legendary creature, human knight. It's a 4/4. Whenever this thing enters the battlefield or attacks, you create a virtuous roll token attached to another target creature you control. So whenever enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, man. This guy's just frolicking, kind of suspiciously if you ask me, you know, but you want draw, buddy. You want to dig out those sweet cards. Like Almost Perfect here, 4 green white enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has base power and toughness 9/10 and has indestructible. It's gonna be pretty bonkers as a curve topper to copy with our commander. Would have been a funnier picture if you had him missing the cod piece, you know, just a little twig and berries hanging out. But Magic has no balls, dude. Literally in this case, man. So how about Sigil of the Empty Throne? 3 white enchantment. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. This can be nuts if you copy it. Slap some auras out there and you're in the money, man. 8 flowering power, but they're flying too for each stupid aura if you copy it just one time, man. This looks like an Elden Ring boss arena. I just beat Mesmer, by the way, so if you're struggling, just know that if Nikki G can do it, you can too, man. Another key strategy in this deck is copying all these little fertile ground type effects. Some of the others that do similar things. You know, fertile ground, if you're not familiar, 1 and a green, enchantment, it's an aura. Enchant land. Whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional 1 mana of any color. It's an aura, so then you untap your guy out there, you make more copies of other auras. It's good, man. Trust me. 5 or 6 of these effects in this deck, and I'm always happy to see them. So I did mention the old Kenrith's transformation, but we're going to round out this deck with some punishing enchantments like Grasp of Fate. 1 white for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls until Grasp of Fate leaves the battlefield. So with Yenna out there, we can copy these things for ultimate value. Although keep in mind, you don't have instant speed removal. She can only activate her ability as a sorcery. So that removes some of the strategic flexibility for sure, but makes up for it in value. Anyways, man, we have a sweet $60 budget deck that you can use as a base, then upgrade with those Earthcraft or Sarah Sanctum combos if you hit the lottery, dude. Or some less than $100 cards like Eldrazi Conscription, Argothian Enchantress, stuff like that. So listen, I love you guys, man. Enjoy Yenna. It's a really fun, rather explosive deck that pulls all kinds of surprises. And enjoy your life out there, brother. We got 11,000 subscribers, and that's a lot of dudes for me to love. You know, that's a lot. But there is infinite space in my heart for that, and for you. Nikki G, Better Commander, signing off.